I died for 6 minutes. Those words sound like the beginning of a cheap ghost story, but I swear to you, it was the most real thing I've ever lived through. It happened on a gray Thursday morning in Chicago, just after dawn, when the city's restless noise had barely started. I was 25 years old, exhausted from the relentless hum of life, the kind that burrows under your skin and never lets go. I was walking to my apartment after an early shift at the hospital, my mind tangled with thoughts about bills, relationships, and that persistent feeling I couldn't shake, that I was missing something, some deeper meaning I couldn't name. Then suddenly, everything stopped. My heart betrayed me. A sharp, unbearable pain exploded inside my chest, like a storm raging beneath my ribs. My vision blurred. The streetlights around me smeared into streaks of color, and I felt myself falling backward into an abyss without bottom or end. I should have been terrified. I should have screamed. But instead, there was silence. Absolute silence. A darkness so complete it wasn't empty, it was full of something. Something alive. I was dead, but I was not gone. In that suspended breath of time, I slipped beyond the edge of the world I knew. No light, no sound, no air, only the feeling of being pulled through a veil thinner than a whisper. And then suddenly I found myself somewhere else. Not heaven, not hell, not even what I would have imagined as the afterlife. It was a place where time had no meaning, where shadows breathed and thoughts shaped reality. A liminal space inhabited by beings that looked like ghosts but moved with purpose I couldn't yet understand. And these beings, the dead, were not resting. They were working. When I opened my eyes again, I was no longer on the cold pavement of Chicago's side street. Instead, I was standing in a vast, empty room that felt familiar and alien at once. The walls were made of a material I couldn't name, smooth, yet porous, like a living stone that pulsed faintly beneath my fingertips. The ceiling stretched upward into darkness, and the floor was covered in a thick mist that muffled my footsteps. Around me, dozens of figures stood motionless, their faces blurred and indistinct, as if they were slowly losing their own shapes. They didn't speak. They didn't move. They just waited. I felt their weight pressing on me, a heaviness of unfinished stories and unresolved grief. Then I noticed a faint glow ahead, a long corridor lined with countless doors, each carved with strange symbols that flickered like dying stars. One of the figures moved suddenly, a man, maybe in his 30s, with tired eyes and a faded blue jacket. He glanced at me, his gaze empty but desperate. "We're waiting," he whispered without sound, a voice felt in my bones rather than heard. "For what?" I asked, but no answer came. I understood then. This was not a place of rest or judgment. This was a waiting room between lives, where the dead lingered, tethered to what they left behind, to memories they couldn't release. I reached out, trying to touch one of the doors. The surface was cold and alive, like it breathed beneath my palm. Behind each door, I sensed a story: pain, regret, love, fear. And I knew I was standing on the edge of something I wasn't ready to face, because death was not the end. It was just the beginning of a long, endless waiting. The corridor beyond the waiting room stretched infinitely, doors fading into shadows I couldn't pierce. My footsteps echoed oddly, as if the space itself was breathing with a slow, deliberate rhythm. I felt drawn to one door in particular, larger than the others, its surface carved with an intricate pattern of spirals and thorny vines. When I pressed my hand against it, a sudden rush of images flooded my mind. A young woman crying alone in a dark room, a shattered photograph, whispered promises broken by silence. I stumbled back, breathless. This was a memory. Someone's pain. Someone's unfinished story. Behind the door, a voice called out, not loud, but insistent, like a heartbeat beneath the silence. "Help me," it said. I wanted to run, but my feet were rooted to the misty floor. In that moment, I realized the dead were bound by their regrets and fears, trapped by the things they never said or did. They weren't ghosts of horror stories. They were prisoners of their own unfinished lives. And I, though still alive, was slipping into their world. The man from before appeared beside me. His eyes, hollow yet urgent, met mine. Every soul here waits to finish what they couldn't in life, he said. But the cost is terrible. Time means nothing. Days stretch into years, and some never find peace. I asked him, "Is there a way out?" He shook his head slowly. "Only those who remember to return. Those who have a tether strong enough to pull them back to the living." Suddenly, I understood why I was here, not by accident, but because I was caught between two worlds, a bridge neither fully alive nor fully dead. The weight of this truth crushed me. To be stuck, to watch, to wait, to be a ghost among ghosts while still breathing. And yet, deep inside, a flicker of resolve ignited. If death was a beginning, then maybe I could find a way to change what came next. The mist swirled thicker now, curling around my ankles like slow-moving water, pulling me deeper into the corridor's endless night. The air tasted faintly metallic, like blood on the tongue, and every breath felt heavier, as if I were drowning in time itself. The man who called himself James stayed close. His presence was a fragile comfort, a reminder I was still clinging to something real. "I don't understand," I said, voice trembling. "How do you remember? How do you hold on?" James looked at me with eyes that had seen too much. "A tether," he said. "Something from your life, a connection to the living, a memory, a promise, a person who won't forget you. That's what pulls you back." He paused, as if weighing his words carefully. "Without it, you drift. You become lost in the waiting room, and time stretches until you vanish completely." I thought about my family, my friends, the life I'd barely begun to live. Was I still tethered to them? Could they still remember me? "What if the tether breaks?" I asked. James's face darkened. "Then you become part of the silence. Forgotten. And forgotten means permanent." A cold fear gripped me. The idea of being erased, not just from life, but from existence itself. I wanted to scream, to fight, to hold on to whatever thread kept me here. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "What if the tether is inside you?" The corridor's fog thickened, swallowing sound and light until I felt like I was drifting through a dream stitched together by fragments of forgotten lives. James's words echoed in my mind. The tether is a connection to the living. But what if it wasn't just others remembering me, but also something I carried inside? I closed my eyes and felt the pull, like a fragile thread tied around my heart, pulling me toward a flickering image from my childhood. My mother's smile, warm and imperfect. My brother's laughter echoing down a summer street. A letter I never sent, full of apologies and truths I was too afraid to speak. The dead don't just wait, they relive. They carry their regrets like chains, dragging them through eternity. And I realized, with a shudder, that the tether was made of these memories, the ones we refuse to let go of. But what if holding on too tight traps you just as surely as forgetting? James watched me with quiet sadness. Some souls try to rewrite their pasts, but time here doesn't bend for lies. Only truth frees. The truth. I thought about my life, the choices I'd made, the words left unsaid, the love I'd been too afraid to accept, the pain I'd hidden even from myself. Was I ready to face all that? To unravel the knots of my own story and confront the shadows I'd buried? The corridor seemed to breathe with me, alive with the silent cries of countless souls waiting for their chance to be heard, to be remembered, to be free. And I understood finally why I was here, not just as a witness, but as someone who might change the story. Because sometimes to save yourself, you have to save others first. The deeper I moved through the endless hallways, the more real the waiting became. Faces emerged from the mist, some desperate, some resigned, all suspended between past and present like ghosts caught in a web of their own making. James walked beside me silently, as if the burden of this place pressed down on his every step. "You have a choice now," he said quietly. "You can stay, become part of the waiting, or you can try to return. But returning isn't simple. It demands more than just will. It demands sacrifice." I swallowed hard, the cold fear twisting in my gut. What kind of sacrifice? A sacrifice of forgetting. To come back, you must let go. Let go of the pain, the regrets, the memories that chain you here. I closed my eyes, feeling the tether inside me tighten, pulling me between two worlds. Was I ready to lose parts of myself? To give up pieces of the story that had made me who I was? Do I have to forget everything? I whispered. James shook his head. Not everything, but enough. Enough to live again. A shiver ran through me, a mix of relief and terror. To forget, to lose the very memories that made life meaningful, was almost a death in itself. Yet staying meant eternal limbo, a slow decay of soul and spirit. I looked back down the corridor at the endless doors, the faces trapped in their waiting. Then I looked forward, toward the faint light bleeding at the edge of the mist. I knew what I had to do. I had to choose. The light grew brighter, a pale dawn breaking through the thick fog of that endless waiting room. I felt the tether tighten one last time, pulling me back, yet threatening to tear me apart. James was beside me, his face softer now, almost peaceful. Remember, not everything will come back. Some parts of you will fade. But that is the price of life. I nodded, my heart pounding like a war drum in a silent forest. As I stepped toward the light, I felt the memories slip away, the sharp edges of pain, the heavy chains of regret loosening and dissolving. It was terrifying and liberating all at once. Then, I woke. Cold air filled my lungs. The hospital room was bright, sterile. Nurses were rushing around me, their voices muffled, urgent. My heart was beating again. I was alive, but something inside me had changed. I carried the weight of those waiting souls, their unfinished stories, their endless work, as a silent echo in my bones. Since that day, I see them sometimes, in flickers, in shadows, in whispers of memory. They are not gone. They are working. And so am I. Because to truly live, we must first understand what it means to be lost.